The three I'm going to show you now are my three arboreals. These are all kept in what are marketed as cereal containers, and are kept on top of my bearded dragon vivarium. This means that any moisture in the substrate evaporates rather quickly, keeping the humidity up in the enclosure. It also gives a nice bit of heating from below. Normally I wouldn't recommend heating a tarantula from below, but I don't see an issue with it with arboreals. First up is everyone's favourite, the pink toe. And there she is at the back. It's a nice simple enclosure. A couple of bits of cork bark glued into place around the backs and sides of the enclosure. A water bowl glued into place that will be filled up after this video. And there she is. Very docile, very gorgeous little spiders. Highly recommend anyone who doesn't have a pink toe to get one. I didn't like them much at first, I'll admit, when I first started keeping tarantulas. But they grow on you, and there's just something very cute and very adorable about that fluffy little spider. Second up is my Poecilotheria regalis, the Indian ornamental. You might be able to see her, if I angle the camera a bit, you might be able to see her at the bottom here. I can't really see on the camera very well. Just here above my finger. No, probably not. She's been reared from a sling and is now about 3.5 inches, going on 4 inches. She's feeding at the moment, so you might be lucky to see her at the bottom, there near my finger. Just there. The enclosure again, as with all my arboreal setups, it's a couple of bits of cork bark, hot glued into place, with a couple of leaves and plants hot glued in. I should say this bit on the back was my attempt at making a, putting a piece of card or something around to give it a darker section. The stickers started peeling, they didn't all come off. I just recommend using either card or bits of black bin bag. Don't try and be clever like I was. It doesn't always work. Thirdly and finally for these is my sun tiger, the Salmopaeus erminia. These are one of my favourite all-time tarantulas. I just find their colours absolutely amazing. She was out on the cork bark earlier. Seems she's gone back into her hide now. If I show you the enclosure at least. Again, simple piece of cork bark. A couple of plants and leaves glued in. This one has a water dish that will be filled up in a bit. And a very large amount of substrate in the bottom. That's just to keep up a nice high amount of humidity in there. She does have a wonderful sock web retreat going from the top of the substrate all the way up the cork bark, up the back of the water bowl. You might be able to see, yeah, you can see the circle just there between the water bowl and the cork bark in the corner. Just here. Just there. Absolutely stunning tarantulas. A little bit speedier than, some, like, say, a pink toe, but well worth it. First up is a recently rehomed. She's been moved into this enclosure from a smaller one. Aphnopelma aberrans, the Casablanca chestnut. Now, I'm going to move that round. I'm also going to quickly grab my torch. This is a bit dark down here. This room isn't the best lit. And that torch is absolutely terrible for this. Anyway, like most Aphnopelma species, she's relatively slow, relatively docile. And there she is on the side of the enclosure. A gorgeous coloration of lovely chocolatey brown through slightly green tinges. Very well behaved. I've had her since a small juvenile. She's just coming into sub-adult. And I thought it'd be nice to upgrade her into this enclosure. Just something a bit bigger than what she was in. My favourite piece of cork bark. It's wonderfully curved and goes all the way back down into the bottom here. She does use that as a hide. Now these are marketed as what's called sea nuri. That's, sea is in ocean and then nuri. Therefore, reptiles, aquaria, and then there's wonderful little bushy plants. And next to a terra water dish that needs filling up. You'll notice there's a theme going on here that all the waters need filling. I haven't done them today simply because I wanted to be able to tilt and move the enclosures safely without getting water absolutely everywhere. Next up is my second ever spider, my chili rose, Grammostola rosea, the pink colour phase. And there she is. She's quite large at the moment. It's not often that she feeds. A lot of people complain about their G Rosie's not eating. Mine eats like a dump truck, she always has done. Simple piece of advice is keep them somewhere where there's a lot of, not in direct sunlight, but somewhere that is in daylight, so they can readjust themselves to the natural, to our side of things. Remember, they come from the southern hemisphere where summer and winter are the opposites to our summer and winter. They need to completely readjust to that, especially if they're, like this one, a wild caught specimen. Now, another way, if they do stop feeding, is to drop the temperature down to about anywhere within the 50 to 60 degrees region, just for a few days, and then increase it back up to 70 to 80 Fahrenheit. That tends to simulate a winter, and then they start feeding again. She's a gorgeous, gorgeous little spider. Please note as well that you do keep them dry. I've lost count of how many times someone's come in and said, "Oh, my chili rose is, doesn't seem to be happy," and it turns out that they're keeping the substrate completely soaked. All you need is make sure there's a water bowl. This water bowl actually is full, so and there's a filled water dish available at all times. Tarantulas will drink from those. Anyway, that's my little Fuchi, my little chili rose. This is Iron Armis, my Kilimanjaro mustard, Tarantulas caudatus. Hopefully that's coming out nicely on the video. She's an absolute gorgeous, stunning spider. Still one of my firm favourites. Very pretty. And this one's surprisingly well behaved. She gets a little moody sometimes, but she is still firmly among the favourite of the tarantulas I keep. She was my first, and while I wouldn't recommend them as a beginner spider, I've never had any trouble with her. She is absolutely stunning. Definitely my favourite of the African species. I'm a little bit controversial with her in that I do occasionally give her a thawed out pinky. A lot of people disagree with that. Personally, I think she'd have grabbed it in the wild if there was a pinky running past. It's nice to give her the occasional one. The enclosure, again, is one of my favourites. Lovely bit of cork bark at the back. Another piece here that she has excessively webbed over. That burrow does go right the way back under and back along the sides. Absolutely incredible burrowing species. She disappeared for a few months, then came back out and made this entire webbed area. I'm not complaining at all. The fact that she went, I think she molted while she was in there, it's hard to tell. A lot of fossorial species, when they molt in their burrows, they tend to just destroy the molt, web it into the sides of their burrows. But yeah, she's an adult female. She disappeared for a few months, came back out, and I don't mind the fact that she disappeared, because when she came back, she gave me this wonderful little welcome present.